It's November the 1st. I'm out of the farm again. I'm going to work a little while I get my body loosened up. I'll start out by splitting wood, but my wife and I leave in 29 days for New Zealand. So I'm probably going to be coming out here a couple times a week, at least twice a week, to get to get myself chopping fit again, because frankly, I think at Rotorua there's like 6 or 7 events a day for each day, and I'm doing all of the events. Probably with the exception of the championship underhand, I shouldn't be cutting that thing, to be honest. But if I get a chance, I'll cut it. But in any event, you need to get fit for that because radiata can be hard. Can be good, but it can be hard, and it just depends on how it rolls out. But anyway, I'm going to share some other wisdoms today because I've got some interesting questions from folks. One of the questions I often get asked is like, can you write me up a workout routine? And, specifically for wood chopping, timber sports. And I'm going to be blunt with everyone. It doesn't really matter what you do, as long as you do something and you do something consistently. That's the main thing. Being strong is makes everything easier, particularly as you age. But like the younger people that are in the sport, they really need to focus on the techniques. They really need to focus on how to deliver the axe and deliver the saw, et cetera, et cetera. But the older folks, including myself, and anyone that's north of 40, you really need to start strength training. And strength training does not need to be specific for the sport itself. It needs to be for the body, not the sport. I got lost in the weight room during my 40s, and my weight went from about 260 up to 315. And the only thing I can tell you about that journey is that abundance of strength that I accumulated during my 40s will probably carry me well into my latter years from an athletic standpoint. That's the good thing about being lost in the weight room. The bad thing was, destroyed my health markers, the body mass index through the roof, high cytokines or inflammatory markers from the adipokines. And so while it was good for one respect, it was bad for my overall health. That's the reason why I'm slimming down. To reiterate, what I would tell someone, just eat healthy, figure out what sort of caloric demand that you need and try and find a way to stay within that caloric demand. If not, go to about 500 calories less than what you need. Maintain that weekly, and you should be able to lose about a pound a week. But with the strength training to maintain your muscle mass, particularly older folks, you need to just sit there and find something that you can do, you enjoy, that you can do 3 to 4 days a week. And that's the main thing is consistency. You got to be consistent. You have to be consistent because if you're not consistent, it doesn't matter. Anything that's worth uh, devoting your time to takes the effort and takes that consistency in order for it to be successful. And so that's what I would tell someone. Yeah. But I can go into a lot more caveats if anyone has any questions. The reason why I say I can go into a lot of different caveats is I have been in strength athletics now for, good Lord, I did my first bodybuilding contest at night. I started lifting in 1983. Put on posing trunks one time. That would have been in 86 or 87. Then power lifted during my teenage years, and then sort of stopped and concentrated on wood chopping after that. But I've always lifted. I've never stopped. I trained with Phil Pfister for over 10 years, and sometimes we go train with Brian Siders. Those are the who's who in strength athletics, at least in West Virginia. And I've always been sort of a wealth of knowledge in regards to training modalities, as well as how to get your body to supercompensate and training routines. So if anyone has any questions, just ask me because I'll share what I know. I also know all the other crap stuff we probably shouldn't talk about. I know that too. It's from personal experience from when I was younger, and then now I'm very much a biohacker who believes in optimizing my physical performance and my physical longevity. So I'm really steeped in the longevity field in trying to optimize your body's ability to live as long as healthy as you possibly can. Basically, have a increased health span is the concept that people smarter than me refer to it as. And so, yeah, I know way too much, and I probably should share some of this knowledge before I become, I start giving less fucks. In other words, because I'm not going to always do this stuff. I very much a antisocial person, and so the fact that I'm doing this now is kind of weird. But in any event, started out to stay in contact with my daughters, and it somehow doesn't. Blue crap is in. Lost 2 hours of my life. I'm gonna go split some wood and then start single bucking. I noticed that the last session, and Grant Foreman pointed this out to me, I was actually healing too much. This straight up, this stuff, it works. I can feel it. I mean, it is, to me, it has replaced the need to drink a shit ton of coffee. And it doesn't increase my heart rate the way the caffeine does. So that's part of the merit to it. And it clears your mind as well. At least that's the way I feel. So let you focus on what you want. Doing these 30 stroke plus cuts takes me back to the 90s before we had really good quality saws, and we used to use M-tooths primarily. A typical 20-inch log back in the 90s with an M-tooth, you're looking, if it's good wood, 20, 21 strokes. And if it was not good wood on a 20-inch log, it'd be 30 or more. And then all the way back to Albany, where we used to cut Douglas fir, which was 24-inch. And if you got it under a minute, you were the man. And so that was a 50 to 70 stroke race. And so it's all about fitness. I don't really know how many strokes it's going to take to cut an 18-inch radiata, but I think the cutting times are around 20 seconds. So 20, 21. So to me, that's, with my stroke speed, if I get it in right, should be around 24 to 25 strokes. So if anything, hopefully I'll be fit enough to do it. But, I'm freaking too old to, if I can make that final, that would make my trip. But even make the double final with Gerald would make my trip. So, even making finals. that didn't make my trip too. Right, I'm going to start rotating the other way now. So I was rotating right to left primarily, even though with the backstroke you're getting a little bit of left to right with a single. But with standing block, it's primarily accelerating left to right for me because I cut left-handed. When I single buck, it's primarily come from right to left. So to balance out my trunk, I'm glad that I chopped left-handed and saw right-handed. That's one of the things I've always encouraged people to do, so that way you're not over stimulating the thrust or the acceleration portion of the stroke unilaterally on your body, because you can develop severe imbalances and cause a lot of issues. So anytime that I'm working with someone new in the sport, that's what I have them do. Particularly if they're right-hand dominant, I make them chop left-handed, even though they may have batted baseball right-handed, et cetera, et cetera. It just makes more sense. Anyway, standing block, working on the same stuff, trying to get used to the not being fat. It's actually much better than the wood, the Shockwave wood that I cut. That actually kind of cuts like tulip. I mean, it chips with every hit, but the axe travels marginally. So, I'm going to run some chip lines because I'm still wanting to get that higher downswing. I had it really good on the first two opening blows, but because I opened an 11-inch scarf on a 16-inch log, had to bore that son of a bitch in. So, had to cut down on the slope. And when I cut down on the slope, it just comes off the shoulder instead of above my head, which is where I want it. I think I need to explain what chip lines are, because a lot of the younger people who watch this stuff, they don't really know what I mean. So I do it in the underhand by going outside the scarf and basically chasing the scarf about an inch down. With the standing block, it's a lot more dangerous. So you basically hit about 2 inches above your scarf line and then chase it in and get your scarf to run the way that you want it. You want to get as many hits out of a log as you possibly can when you're training. That way, the more hits you have, the less hits you're going to waste when you go to race and competition. The more precise you can become. Perfection is the enemy of good enough. Or good enough that's correct. Perfection is the enemy of good enough. This is becoming good enough with the axe spacement as well as with the slope that you're putting on the hit. I like what I see in the swing, but I need to get a little bit of and a little bit of urgency. So I want to move on to the underhand and work on my speed and tempo. Well, I'm just working on a scarf on that. Fuck that. I don't give a shit. I can go fast in the underhand. It's the standing block that I'm really singing Goatsy Oats and Little Lambsy Ivy. And so that's the way I've been now for ever since I blew my shoulder out in 2017. But now that I got my shoulders back together, kind of, maybe, I don't know, I should probably pull the thumb out of my ass and freaking do something. Ooh, baby. It's like getting that wet sand.